Here we go again.
All right, well, after all of that, the secret is we're releasing a sound add-on for laptops. Welcome to the Flamingo Casino Hotel, Flightsim Expo 2018, the fabulous city of Las Vegas, Nevada, which of course needs no introduction. Me, on the other hand, I might benefit from an introduction. My name is Robert Randazzo. I am the founder and president of a little family of companies that you all know as PMDG. I'd like to thank our show organizers for all the extra support. Thank you. Specifically, I'd like to single out Evan Ryder for a little extra thank you. Evan had the presence of character and calm to continue asking if PMDG would come here to this expo even after I turned him down a half dozen times. So you were right, this was a good idea, thank you. And everything that goes wrong from here on is his fault. You know, we normally turn down requests to speak at events like this. Part of it, some of you know me, I am a perennially private person. I really don't enjoy coming out and soaking up attention personally on behalf of a very large team of very dedicated software developers. But the other reason why we tend to turn these down is because often our development cycles don't line up with a show like this, so we don't often have something to show you that we haven't already showed you in our customer forum. And money being what it is, I would hate to have you spend money to come and see me get up on a stage like this and talk, and then walk out of the room thinking, you know, geez, you didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff to show you today. I'm going to go through some stuff really quickly because I do need to make up. I'm going to sound like an airline captain. We're going to make up a little bit of time en route. So we've got a little bit of time to make up, so I'm going to go through some things pretty quickly. So pay attention because it's going to be fast. But you know, when we walked in the room, this whole event is triggering some PTSD for me. Some of you may not know, Nevada is sort of a second home for me. Wow, I just got choked up, I'm sorry. My wife and I moved here right after we were married. We owned property in the state for a decade. This was a place that's very, very fond for us. And we lived about 400 miles north of here, and some friends of ours decided it would be fun if they pushed me into the political arena. So I ran for lieutenant governor of the state of Nevada, and I gave, probably close to 1,000 speeches on stages just like this, in rooms just like this. So walking around here today, I was like, oh, I should have brought some Xanax. Running for office was a fascinating experience. If any of you ever want to step outside your comfort zone and really push yourself to do something different, run for office. You won't regret it. It's very difficult. You will learn every weakness you've ever had, and you will learn something you didn't know you had. You'll probably lose, but you'll be glad you did it. How did it work out for me? I came in 5th in a 4-person race. No kidding. Anybody here from the state of Nevada? Where were you guys 10 years ago? In Nevada, when you vote, they list the candidates by name, and then they add a line on the bottom, and that line is, and I'm quoting, none of the above. So you all came to Las Vegas, to the Flamingo Hotel, to listen to a talk given by a guy who lost to none of the above. But that's okay. I've run the PMDG forum for 20 years. I've got pretty thick skin, so. And if anybody saw what I did with my clicker, there it is, thank you. Yeah, that's okay. See, here we go. It's turned into one of those days. I have, it's all right. It hastened my return to PMDG headquarters, where the rest of the team had been unsupervised for 18 months, working on the product that eventually got released as the NGX. I thought somebody might laugh when I said that, and I was going to make a joke about the team being unsupervised, but we'll just skip right on by that. All right, so we're going to start out today. I want to give you a little preview of a product that's going into beta testing on Monday. Finally, it's only a year behind schedule. Our version of the 747-8. Just a quick pre-release preview of some of the interesting things we've got in this airplane. If you were to believe that the 747-400 and the -8 were sort of the same airplane, you would be very mistaken. About the only two things these airplanes have in common is the little hump on the front and 4 engines. The -8 is a highly data-driven airplane in a way that the 400 simply wasn't. The -8 has more in common with the 787 and the 777X than it does with the 400. So just a couple of quick review of some of the data tools that are in this airplane. Vertical situation display. This will give you, and we've just hit another technical glitch. I don't have, oh, there we go. Oh, I gotta stand over here. All right. We're working this out one problem at a time. What I need is a checklist. Okay. We're gonna do without that. So the vertical situation display gives you a bunch of information on the side profile of your flight. You can see the little widget there. That's your airplane, the little line sticking out from it. That's the direction that the airplane's going. Gives you a vector that helps you determine if you are going to make your climb and descent profile. It also gives you the opportunity to see what the terrain is around you. Now I need some help. That is not terrain radar. Please help me stomp that little theory out. That is a database-driven process. It looks at where the airplane is and the terrain relative to the airplane, and it shows it to you. So that's what that is. That is driven right out of the electronic flight bag on the airplane. Over here, a little bit of profile there. You can see those two little radar dish-looking things on the ILS to 19 left at Dulles. And the first one, the white one, that's your stabilization criteria. You should be fully configured and on speed to land when you hit that one. And the amber one after it, that is your minimums for the approach. If you don't see a runway in the runway environment by that point, then you need to push the little toga button and off you go. You can try it again later. We have the electronic checklist. The ECL on the airplane is modeled after the one that's on the 777, but it's got quite a bit more advanced capabilities because this airplane has a lot more stuff on it. We've obviously got all your normal checklists. We've got a whole bunch of abnormal checklists as well. The abnormal checklists cover a tremendous amount of territory because there are so many interdependent systems on this airplane. It will walk you through just about any problem you could possibly have with some question and answer checklists and some interrogatives. When you answer the question, it will branch in one direction or another. It's actually a pretty intelligent system. It works quite nicely. Something that we did on this one that we did not do on the 777 because we just didn't have the time to develop it is deferred item checklists. This one comes out of the 2-engine out checklist. 777 doesn't have that one. This one comes off the 2-engine out checklist, and eventually you're going to go through a whole slew of other checklists, and then you've got to come back and land the airplane. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that's done differently with 2 engines out, and it depends on whether it's 2 engines out on one wing or split between 2 wings. Which would be a really bad day in either case, but it will take you through the process of landing the airplane because it's so different in that configuration than it is in other configurations. So it will allow you to go off and do some other checklists, and then it will bring you back to this one as you start to walk through the approach. We've got a combination checklists for the abnormals that are feeling through different sensors on the airplane. It presents you with pieces of the checklist that are relevant to you given the condition of the airplane. It's looking at things like what systems are already shut down, which ones are not working, which ones are working, and it gives you checklist items to go through that are relevant to your phase of flight and your condition. So it's a pretty intelligent system, and it's actually a heck of a lot of fun. We're gonna visit this again in a few minutes. All right, airport environment. I call this Safe Taxi. I was notified shortly before we got here that that is a trademark of the Garmin Corporation, so if I say it, I didn't mean it, and if you could all just deny you heard me say it, that would be appreciative. But the airport environment display here, this is something that was done by Michael Franciskakis, is one of the developers on our team. He actually flew all the way from Athens to be with us here today. He's in the back corner of the room. This was his little project. He took this on. Shortly after he started to work on it, he came to me and he said, this is a mess. But he had some ideas to solve some of the really difficult problems of implementing this. And one of the things that he said was, look, this is driven out of the electronic flight bag, so I'm just gonna develop the EFB as well. So, you know, not being stupid, I just nodded and said, okay. So this will show you current taxiways, where you're taxiing, shows you taxiway markers, numbers, things like that. All the designators for the runways, entry points, hold shorts, gate positions, and in some airports it will show you terminal buildings, in some it doesn't. We're still working on that. But here's the thing. I might have Aerosoft's London Heathrow installed. You might have UK 2000s, and you, General U over there, might just be using default scenery. The problem with that is that I'm going to see something slightly different than him, and all of you want to see what you are seeing out the window. So we solved that problem by implementing a tool that anytime you change your scenery, if you add an airport or whatever, you just go into the electronic flight bag, 2 clicks, wait 30 seconds, it goes and builds a worldwide database that will show you every airport in the simulator, and it does the whole thing for you. There's no manual editing, you don't have to do a thing, and you just click those 2 buttons, wait for 30 seconds or so, and you will have updated airport maps that match what you see out the window. If you then uninstall a scenery and add another one, that's fine. Just go ahead and hit those 2 buttons, wait 30 seconds, and off you go. It's really simple. Our goal is that we should do the hard work for you so you can spend less time fiddling and more time flying the sim. Oh, and I just talked right through my whole slide. So this is the tool. So you just go into this tool, click a couple of buttons, and like I said, it'll take care of all that for you. So Michael took a deep dive into the electronic flight bag. The electronic flight bag is just about a one-to-one simulation of the product that's in the cockpit of the airplane itself. You can see through the menu pages here, you can pop this up so you can get it as a 2D. We are starting to explore how to export it to an iOS device for those that like to do that. But it will show you all of this stuff. And I'll just kind of step you through a couple of things. Performance computations. Right now, we do these for you in the background when you plug information into the FMS. We're going to allow you to do the handiwork. You can plug everything in here and then export it to the FMS like the flight crew does. So that'll be kind of neat. We've got a whole bunch of conversions. So if you are, if you're like me and you are not necessarily metric enabled and you're going someplace that is, you can just convert it all right there. It's very easy. If anyone has messed around with our fuel density computation, you've gone into places where fuel density is different than what it is where you're from, this will help you determine what your fuel totals are going to be. We've got video cameras inside the airplane. They are dynamic, so I've left, when we took these images, I left the door 2L open there so you could see that it's kind of hanging open. You can watch the boarding process on a passenger airplane, on a freight airplane. There's cameras staggered so you can keep an eye on cargo for smoke issues and things like that. Rumor has it if you watch that view long enough in flight, you will see me go by on a pogo stick. I've watched it for hours and haven't seen it. I don't know if that was their way of keeping me occupied and off their backs or what, but if you see it, let me know. The tool to import data, as I said. We've got some application preferences. This will allow you to set your measurements and things like that to what makes sense for you or the operator that you are simulating. We've got a very, very robust document management process inside our EFB. Normally, it has been sort of our industry. In simming, it's been the industry standard that you just kind of give people a directory to throw PDFs in and then they can just click on them. We have stepped far beyond that and simulated the document management process that's in the EFB in the airplane. So you can go and drop those PDFs into the directory for any particular manuals that you'd like to have. They will show up here and you can then manipulate them. So this is the introduction document. It shows you all the tabs that you can just tap to, go right to something inside the document itself. If you wanted to, you could select all of the documents that are in the directory and then type in, right here I've typed in fuel, and now it will look at every document in its memory and find every instance of the word fuel, and when we hit enter, it will then display that to you, and it displays it to you. You can click through each of them and it will highlight in the text so you can see exactly what the reference is. So if you're just looking for something, it'll show it to you right there. Now if you want to go and take a deeper dive into the document, you can click on the document, it'll take you right to that page. So it's some pretty cool stuff. You can also just take a document and read it. And this is pretty cool because you can use the mouse wheel, you can zoom in, zoom out, scroll around. So if you want to get a better view of some things, you can do that pretty quickly. Next up, we've got, so one of the other things that happened, it was coincidence. The folks at Naviggraph we've worked with for almost 20 years, putting their navigation data into our products, and we're in the process of trying to upgrade all of our fleet to use their more modern navigation database. But through those discussions, they said, hey, we've got this API to show our Jeppesen licensed navigation materials on the flight deck, and we would really like to see if you guys could put it to use. And they hit us with that request exactly as we were hitting the same point in the EFB development. So Michael, again, took that on, and with some support from Naviggraph, we now have a fully simulated, completely realistic ability to show Jeppesen navigation data inside the EFB. So for example, you can just go right through that menu, select, pull this up and have it there. You can zoom in and out, scroll it around, anything you want. If you have the misfortune of flying with an airline captain like me, who is sort of persnickety about light control on the flight deck at night, you can take your chart and flip it over to the night view and off you go. So the EFB will be part of the 747-8. It will not be in the 400 because the EFB is not used in that airplane. We will be porting this into the 777 and into the NG3, and I expect you'll see it in subsequent products as well. Rainmaker, we previewed this a while ago, oh, there he is. He's the mascot for this product line. His name is Buggy. He came to us about 6 months ago, and I'll show you why in just a minute. You may remember back in 2009, we experimented with raindrops on the Jetstream 41. And it was kind of a cool effect, but it had the undesired side effect of out-of-memory errors for just about anybody who tried to use it, so it did not reappear. With the advent of 64-bit platforms, we are bringing it back based on the feedback of the folks at TDI came up with one that was really nice, and so we decided, you know what, 64-bit, yeah, let's go to town. So off we went. We kind of took a deep dive on this. This was done by Henning van Rensburg and Vince Simone. This is an example of a cold-soaked airplane. It's a cold environment, it's a moist environment. You're a mammal, so you go sit in the cockpit and you exhale all kinds of warm, moist air. When that air reaches the window, anyone who has ever sat in one of these when it's cold or on an MG or something like that will tell you the interior of the windows will sublimate and you'll have some mist attached there. So that's simulated here. When you get the air conditioning running, it will slowly go away if you turn the window heaters on, etc. Snow. Snow will accumulate on a cold airframe. If the window heaters are not running, then you can expect to see some snow accumulation on and around the airframe. This would be a lot easier to show you if I had my little pointer, so you're going to have to deal with this. This window is heated. That window is heated, except the heater on that window is broken and it's deferred. So you've got more snow accumulation on this one than you do on that one. It's actually a pretty cool effect. If you turn one heater on and leave the other one off, you'll see a difference in snow accumulation on a hot or a cold windshield. Let's see here. The rain effects on the windshield we're very proud of. We put a lot of work into making this go and making it look nice. You will see some condensation sort of drip down from the airframe and run across the windows. You will also see that the windshield wiper does have an impact on the liquid on the surface. The reflective matrix that we created takes a look at the background scenery, and it reflects light as a raindrop would sitting on the windshield. So it's a pretty cool effect when you're sitting in the airplane. Of course, once the airplane gets moving, you get airflow across the cockpit. That's going to start moving some things around. You can see up here on the top, we don't have wipers running. You're getting an awful lot of rain slicking up the windshield. So that is a pretty neat effect. Yes, we got involved in entomology. So for once at PMDG, we were studying bugs that we did not create. There's a whole science, if you can believe it. I'm going to keep talking and we'll let Evan do his thing. There is a whole science behind entomology that tells you when you can expect to hit bugs in an airplane. Now, if you've ever flown with me, you probably know that you can expect to hit bugs in an airplane when it's your leg, because it never happens on my leg. But we actually spent some time going through looking at data on where you can expect to find insects, what altitudes, what weather conditions, and what geographic locations. We built a model of that. Those bugs will appear on your windshield. And the fun thing is, if you then, if you accumulate some on the climb out, and then you then fly into a rainstorm, some of them will actually wash off the airplane as you go. So it's kind of a neat effect. All right, maintenance is telling us about another 20 seconds and we'll be on our way. Where's Golnick? I think I need Golnick to do paperwork. Are you back there? All right, okay, we got our favorite maintenance controller with us, so he'll do the paperwork. We'll be on our way in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to fill time by making up a story. Paul is a very dear friend of ours. He's involved. Some of you know that we manage a couple of airplanes. And one of Paul's favorite things to tell people is that I have more single-time flight in multi-engine airplanes than anybody else he knows. I have not yet found a way to blame that on him, the maintenance guy, but I'm still working on it. All right, here we go. So we've got bugs on the windshield, and of course there's Buggy. Now, remember, he is a bug, not a feature. All right, I am going to go through this really quickly, trying to make up some time. So, Operations Center 2.0. The Operations Center is a tool that you are all familiar with. We have decided that it's time to rebuild it from the ground up in order to support some development ideas that we have in the future. What we have done is simplified the interface, added some more robust modern connections in the background in order to do downloads of liveries and things like that. We've grouped some things together so that we can manage your products and manage your account right from the OC. The OC2 is a step in the direction of us sort of wrapping our arms around our relationship with you. To keep it simple, you can just go to one spot if you need technical support, if you need account support, whatever it is you need, you go right there. Long term, I think within probably 14 to 16 months, you will, if you'd like, do your product purchase right from inside the OC, pop a license in there, it will do the download and installation in the background. If you purchase your PMDG products through our partner at Aerosoft, great, you just drop your license in, it will do the download, installation in the background, that sort of thing. So we're looking to keep it as simple for you as we can. Product management, you're no longer going to have to back in and out of modules like you've been doing. You'll be able to do the livery installation for whichever simulator platform, product, or airframe type that you like. You can do it right there. We've got a simpler, more robust way for you to stay up to date on on versions for the Operations Center, and to be able to create a support package. And the support package, by the way, just these things have been going on. The support package gets saved in the form of a zip file. So if you ever have to create one for our tech support, go ahead and look in it and see what's in it. There's no mystery there. It's just a bunch of stuff that we put together so we can help diagnose problems with your sim. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. So more keeping up to date, product updates and things like that to keep your PMDG products current. And then we have account management. And this will be the fastest way for you to manage your account at pmdg.com, which, by the way, we do own that URL finally. We had to we had to set up a shell company in Cuba in order to buy it. It's a long story, but we do own that URL now, so you'll be able to manage everything right through there. All right. We've gone through 3 slides and it's gone according to plan. That's kind of nice. All right, so I made up a lot more time than I thought I was going to. So this is one of the things that you guys usually tell us when we come to a show like this is, hey, we'd really like to have some more Q&A time. Any questions you guys want to address to us? Go ahead. Yeah, it does. Anyone else? Come on, you guys. This is an easy one. Let's go. Hang on, Rob. I'm gonna cut you off. I'm playing a joke, and you guys aren't playing along. Go ahead. What do you want to know?
The secret project.
Oh, yes. You got yourself a pogo stick. Try not to be careful when you use that. I want to hear the lawsuits. All right. So, I'm almost out of breath. Here we go. You ready?
Ready.
Nah, I think we're done. I think I wouldn't escape alive. All righty. PMDG Global Flight Operations. This is something that, quick little story. 10 years ago, my wife and I were invited to a friend of ours' birthday party in Atlanta, Georgia. And I don't like to leave the house, so I didn't want to go. So I told her to go ahead and set it all up. So she did, and she booked us on a flight. At the time we were living in Reno. We went from Reno to Oakland to LA to Phoenix to change airplanes, wait around 4 hours, get on a red eye to go to LA. The good news is we saved $25 round trip. The red eye from Reno right to Atlanta, but that's another story altogether. I love her to death. She's absolutely magnificent, and she's home recovering from some really gruesome surgery. And I know she's watching this. Honey, I love you. I hope you feel better. I will be home tomorrow, I promise. I didn't just dash out with all my buddies and go to Vegas. This was planned ahead of time. So sitting in the back of the airplane, because I don't sleep well on airplanes unless I'm flying them. For legal reasons, as a joke. Sitting in the back of the airplane, I started thinking about some stuff, and I had this idea, and I wound up with like 6 pages of legal pad, and I wound up sitting in the back of the room at the birthday party. It was a room about this size, and at some point I looked up, and my wife was in the other corner of the room teaching then Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice how to dance the hustle. That's a true story. And I came home from that trip and sat down and wrote what turned into about a 60-page product spec that proved one thing. Most of the technology that we needed to make this product did not yet exist, and we needed to start working on that. So with the NGX, we started working on some things in the background that also got moved into the 777, that got moved into the 74, that are being further enhanced in the 74-8, that is going to bring us a fairly interesting product. So, what is it? Well, over the last 2 decades, the state of our sims have greatly improved. We've got realistic weather, we've got realistic scenery, we've got realistic airplanes. But one of the things that's sort of interesting is that the world in which we enjoy our simulation is created and destroyed as we enter and exit the sim. There is no persistence. So I can have all the greatest AI traffic in the world and everything else, but as soon as I turn that sim off, it's all gone. So what if you could fly an airplane out of London today, and that airplane had been flown into London by someone else this morning. So when you got that airplane, it was sitting on a gate, and it was in a certain condition, in a certain configuration that matches how he left it, or she, sorry, how it was left on the gate in London before you got it. And what if that airplane accumulated hours and time, and what if you had all of the data history that showed everything that airplane had ever done, and what if you could actually fly a specific serial number airplane in a specific livery that it had carried at some point in its life on a specific route, And what if, once you got it to where it was going, it would stay there until somebody else went and picked it up and flew it home? What if you could do that as part of your virtual airline, and so that they could begin to assign specific pilots to specific routes to fly specific airplanes? And what if you could do that in an environment that was fully supported by a global ACARS data communications model that was embedded in the airplane, that also connected to your online ATC to allow you to function with a true CPDLC simulation, so that you could interact with air traffic control in a realistic manner? And what if you could do all of that? I've lost my place on my notes, so I'm wandering back over here, so pretend you don't see me looking at the computer. Hold on, there's a point here. Yes, okay. And what if you could do that either as just an individual who wanted to enjoy the simulation, or you wanted to do it as part of a virtual airline? So this is what it would look like. And this is where my little laser pointer would come in handy, so you're going to have to pretend it's up there. So we've got Erlich Bachman picks up an airplane at Airport A, flies it to Airport B. He parks it there, and then Bertram Guilfoyle picks that airplane up and flies it to Airport C. You're laughing because you know who they are. You'll see them all over this presentation, by the way. And inside the ACARS system, you will be getting your flight plans. You'll be getting operational messages from the system itself. You'll be getting PIREPs from other pilots. You'll be getting messages from people who meet on your friends list. You'll be getting operational messages from your virtual airline. You'll be getting your weight and balance and your performance data all across ACARS, exactly as it's done in the real world. You'll also be getting gate assignments. I almost missed that one. But you will, all of this is modeled as it is realistically implemented in the world. So this whole thing runs right out of the Operations Center 2.0. We've got a couple of icons here I'm going to talk you through. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a sample flight going from London to San Francisco using the system. And so initially, you'll go in, you'll configure a bunch of stuff. Most of this is automatic. It's just a matter of plugging your personal credentials in and hitting go, and off you run. One of the first things I'm going to get asked about after the presentation is, why don't we see X-plane in there? We will, we just don't have that running yet, so it doesn't make it into the slide. Okay, so we got to figure out which airplane we want to fly. So this is a map that has been filtered. There's a filter up here on the right-hand side. What you are seeing is all the PMDG 747-400 liveries and DC-6 liveries that are currently out there in the world. And they've been placed all over the world. So you can then go and click on any of the dots and see which airplanes are there, select which one you want. That'll take you to the airplane selection tool inside the global flight operations. You can pick which simulator you're going to fly it in, which weather source you're going to use. You can use weather from when we're done, any of the weather engines. Right now we've got it working with Active Sky and with real world weather, so you can select either of those, plug in the destination you want, narrow down the airframe choices that you've got, and you'll be able to then also pick the livery that you want to fly. So if, for example, you were to pick a United Airlines 747-400, you would be able to choose that airplane in its original Saul Bass livery with its original tail number on it, and then any of the liveries that it has flown with subsequently. If the airplane was sold to another airline, you would be able to choose that as well. If the airplane was converted into a freighter, you'd be able to go and pick that type airplane as well. So all of them will exist in there. So for the sake of our argument, we'll go ahead and pick the PMDG 747-8 in London. We hit go, okay, this is the one we want, and we check the airplane out. And checking the airplane out is much like taking out a library book. That airplane becomes yours, nobody else can have it. And briefly, we will take it back from you if you try to keep it, just so you know. So in the background, again, with our philosophy that we want you to spend more time flying and less time twiddling, Global Flight Operations will download everything in the background, have everything installed. You simply launch your sim, click on the Global Flight Operations flight, and when the sim loads, there you will be sitting on the gate in London, exactly where this airplane was left. So this airplane was flown in by Kyle Rogers. It's being picked up by me, and again, flying with me can sometimes be unpleasant because I really like things done exactly the same way every single time. And I will go through this airplane, and if I find even one single switch out of position, I am going to downvote Kyle's reputation in order to... Poor Kyle had to sit co-pilot with me yesterday too. I think I might have to replace him before we go home. Yeah, but you want the gear down, really. You made fun of me yesterday. So you can upvote and downvote the reputation of the pilot who left the airplane for you, depending on whether they left it in the correct configuration, so that when you get it, when you do your pre-flight, and you will need to do a pre-flight, right? All of you, pre-flight? Yes, 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 okay. You do a pre-flight. You'll get the airplane configured properly for departure, and then off you go. Now, you've got to get the FMS set up and get logged into ACARS to get some of the benefit of the system. So if you try to get going without it, this is what you'll see. But this is the login page for ACARS. There's some information on here that you'll need to put in. You just put in your ETD and the estimated time en route, and then the airline ID for the airline that you're flying. And it will go ahead and log you into the ACARS system. Now, the ACARS system is modeled according to the actual ACARS spec. So the way it transmits messages, the methodologies that it uses, the parsing, all of that is accurate. So that if you were to grab one of those messages and look at it, it would be in the exact same text format as you would see if you were to grab an ACARS message out of the air. So you've got that up and running. And this is what you have access to now. You will have, the airplane will track all of your on-off in times, and they will be displayed to you just as they would be in the actual airplane. On the upper right, you'll be able to request METARs and TAFs. That will downlink off the airplane, and then eventually you will get a reply back from the system with an uplink that will tell you all that you wanted to know. So in this, we've got the origin, destination, and then since we're going to San Francisco, if you're going to do a missed approach at San Fran, you might as well go to Maui because the weather's better there. So we've got Maui in there as well. But you can see the METARs and the TAFs, and all of that will be uplinked to you. Down here on the bottom, you've got an arrival report and a reply with a gate assignment. You will also have this one up here on the bottom. Will give you the last 5 flights that the airplane has flown. So when you go to that one, you can scroll through and you can see what the airplane's been doing. The system itself will track the airplane's operation all the way back to creation, but the airplane itself in the real world only will show the last 5 flights. This is what the system shows as of today, and the system is still in alpha. So we have hundreds of additional functionality that's being added almost on a weekly basis. So, continuing along with our flight, we requested some weather information. This is a bounce back, an uplink of real world weather that is showing us the weather at a bunch of different locations. And we added 5 screens because it was easier than just tapping the page down button for you to see all the time. And, all right, so on this map, I'm cheating again, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, so one of the things that we have modeled is an accurate worldwide simulation of the ARINC ACARS communication network. This is a map that's showing you all of the VHF, UHF, ACARS VHF transmit stations in the world. So you will need to be inside the service volume of this thing, just like an airplane actually would. All of this is created. We know the altitudes and the azimuth of all the transmitting stations, so we can tell you whether you are in service volume or not. All of that's handled in the background. It's pretty cool. But if you're crossing the water, well, you might still need information, so that's okay. We added the satellites too. So you've got satellite collection data here. If you are really adventurous and you feel like doing a polar flight, eventually you're going to fly out of both VHF and satellite communications. The satellite volume model is accurate, so as you get up near the poles, at higher altitudes you'll lose connection much earlier than you would at low altitudes. It's really kind of a strange thing until you shine a flashlight at a globe and you can see how that works. But I mentioned the ECL and the Dash 8. This is a screen from the ICAS system on the Dash 8. Of course, we're crossing the pole and the airplane is saying, hey, I'm not talking to anybody. So we are very conscientious pilots. So what are we going to do? All right, we're gonna go back to the beginning. All right. You're gonna, that little box right there next to your ICAST message, that's telling you that there's a checklist item there. So we're gonna do what? There you go. All right, so you'll go pull the ECL up, it'll tell you what you need to know about that message, and we're also fairly knowledgeable pilots, so we knew what that was gonna tell us. Now the nice thing is when we fly back into the service volume, whether it's a VHF station or a satellite, it will automatically reconnect and you will start to receive any messages that were uplinked to you or any messages that you tried to downlink will be on their way. Look, we're all data geeks, so we took we kind of took a similar approach to, sorry, legal told me not to say it that way. We're all big fans of FlightAware and FlightRadar 24. And we figured you guys would probably want to be able to do the same sorts of things there. So we've set up a bunch of data maps that are fully parsable. You can look at them a million different ways. We've also got a bunch of maps that we're going, pages that we'll be showing you that will allow you to compare your stats to other people's. And there'll be user rankings and things like that. But for the sake of argument, we're going to concentrate on, again, the laser pointer. We're going to concentrate on those two airplanes right up there. Thank you for playing along, by the way, I appreciate that. But there's two airplanes up here in northern Canada. So you can click on, oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong spot. With the mapping background, we're using Google like everybody else is, so you've got some options for your mapping background. But, so we're gonna click on one of those airplanes and, oh look, there we are, we're on our way to San Francisco. So it gives you some live information on the airplane. Now, our system does not care if you are flying in real time or accelerated time. It does all the adjustments for you on the fly when the data gets shown to anyone looking at the map. It looks correct. So you've got all that information there. Here's a bunch more information if you were to click on that because you wanted to see more. Across the top, there's sort of the live spectrum of what the airplane's doing. Down the side, you've got everything, including the routing that's currently entered into the FMS and the current performance information. You've also got the serial number of the airframe and the tail number of the airframe. These are all important because each airplane is viewed individually. So if I'm flying this airplane, he can't. If you want this airplane, you gotta wait till I land and check it back in, and then you can fly it from wherever I left it for you. Down here along the bottom is a scrollable history so that you can look through all the way back to the airplane's first flight, every flight that it's ever taken and where it's going, and things of that nature. Now, virtual airlines were important to this tool. So what we've done is we've set up an environment where virtual airlines can have their own environment. And so they can operate within the same environment with all of the same support. A virtual airline will have its own back end so it can communicate to its users using the ACAR system so that the users will be able to share PIREPs, flight plans and things like that within their virtual airline. And I'm going to pick on BAV just because British Airways is my favorite airline, and because the guys at BAV have always been very, very kind to us. So usually when I need to make an example, I use them. So the BAV airplane is the next one over. So we're going to click on that one now. And here they are. And of course, oh, look at that. What a coincidence. They're going to Las Vegas. So the BAV airplane, again, the same thing. They've got all the same data tracking, but this will be data that is from their users only. So if I fly this tail number, but I'm not a BAV user, it won't show up there. If you're a BAV user and you fly this airplane, it will show up there. So it's a pretty cool system. And again, one of the important facets is that we will provide a back end to virtual airlines so that they can have access to it. Now, if there's a BAV and a VVA and a VA and a VBA, doesn't matter. We can accommodate all of them. It all works very well. It was planned to be as robust and open-ended as we can possibly make it. So we're reaching top of descent. We're approaching San Francisco. In the real world, you send an arrival report, let them know if you've got any special requests on board. We don't have all of those modeled yet, but the key one that we do have modeled, which is kind of geeky and cool, is the arrival report. You send this off, and a little while later, you'll get a reply back as a data uplink. And it's apparently the station people aren't having a good day. They just sent us the gate assignment. There's no greeting or anything like that. But so they're telling us that we're going to take the airplane to gate A1. And they will also tell us if ground power is unserviceable at that gate and we should leave the APU running, or if we should not run the APU and plan to be on ground power. They'll tell us if we're being relegated to remote parking because the gate's full, things like that. So it's a live simulation of global operations. And it's kind of fun because the system is set up to be very intelligent. So if I'm flying if we're flying a British Airways 747 into San Francisco, it's going to give us one of BA's gates. It knows what gates to send you to. If we are flying a BA 747 into a city that BA does not fly to, it is going to go and look at who are BA's alliance partners, and it will put you on a 747 appropriate gate with one of their alliance partners. If it can't find any of those, it's going to put you on a gate that's suitable for a 74. If it can't find those, it's going to stick you in remote parking. So you're going to get a live simulation of that will give you sort of a place to go once you're on the ground. All right, so we've reached the gate, we set the parking brake, shut the airplane down, and of course we did what? Yes. All right, follow the checklist. You guys get all the prizes, you guys don't get anything. So we followed the checklist, and we've shut the airplane down, and now, again, our goal is to make this as easy for you to use as possible. So all you do then is you just, you have the airplane shut down, whatever. I just close the sim. Global Flight Operations takes care of everything in the background. It will take you back to the operations center, and then all you got to do is click on check-in. It will give you a couple of options here, and these options are designed with some of the concerns that we all have with our simulators. Maybe things didn't go well, you just want to dump the whole thing and pretend it never happened. You can do that. Maybe you decided, that didn't work out as I planned and I want to do it again. You can hit the reset button and it'll take you right back to the beginning. Or you can say, hey, you know what? Of course I did it right, and I'm going to check it in. So you go ahead and you hit the check-in button, and it will return the airplane into the system so that somebody else can fly it. Now, what we've done is I've showed you an example using one of our airplanes, but this system is designed to be much more open than just PMDG airplanes, because although I can't understand why, some of you do like to fly products from other developers. So I know it's shocking, but we've designed this product from the ground up to include just about any product that you could possibly want to fly. So just a couple of tiers. This is really just representative to help you sort of picture it in your head. But our products will have ACARS and CPDLC embedded right in the airplane itself, so you'll get all of the functions that the system has available to it. Some of our products don't have FMSs, like the DC-6, or they're not going to have CPDLC and ACARS like the J41, or the Aerosoft A320 family, as it currently exists, doesn't have ACARS or CPDLC, but it will still be able to participate. We'll still do per airframe tracking and things of that nature, so they all fit over here. And then, of course, and please don't read anything to the fact that the MD-11 is there. That's just where it fits, okay? No, it's not an X-plane MD-11 either. So then we have tier 3 is basically any other aircraft. If the aircraft just it could be any product. We set up the database to track the airframes, and off you go. You can use it with the system. So it works really well. Now I'm going to leave that up there while I finish up here. A couple of things that we are excited about. One of them is that we are going to be. I'm almost done. One of the things that I'm excited about is that we are going to be, we're going to be hiring, we'll get to that in a minute, but we do have some areas within this system that are really geared toward interactivity with people in the community that like to create content. So I'm thinking specifically of livery painters and folks that like to add content in order to expand a product. Global Flight Operations has been designed from the ground up to allow user creativity. So if someone comes up with an idea for, hey, what about X or what about Y, we can partner with you if you've got a great idea and you're working on something and it will connect into the system. Fantastic. We'd love to have you come on board with that. Livery painters. To fit out the entire 747 fleet globally, is probably about 5,000 liveries. Pete Sterling is our livery painter, and as much as I would love to tell him, okay, you've got till next week, he's probably not going to do them all. So livery painters, we've got a whole infrastructure set up to promote your work and to encourage you to put it into our system, up to and including lifetime free access to any software product that PMDG develops. The same will go for some other user content. If you become a significant contributor, we will reward you by giving you free access to all of our products. We think that's probably a fair way to approach it. We've got now. We're also talking about hiring. We are a fairly quiet company when it comes to hiring, but if you've ever thought of getting into development, we're going to be looking for some iOS app developers to fulfill some aspects of this product that I'm not telling you about yet, because they're not actively in development, and I don't want to share some of the ideas that we have. But they are pretty darn cool, and they sort of lend themselves to the social gameplay aspects that come about from the social networks that build up around these types of environments. So we've got those two things that we'd like to see you guys get involved in. We'll have a lot more information about that soon. We've had one person hand deliver a resume to us at the show here today. Thank you, we appreciate that. But we will actually be getting back to you with a way that if you're interested in working for PMDG, we'd be interested in talking to you about what skills you can bring. Now, last two things I want to say. First off, I mentioned in the beginning that I have the good fortune of coming up here and being the one I'm the face of PMDG. I'm the one that does all the announcements in the forum. So you guys, you yell at Kyle, but you're always nice to me. And we are a team, and we're a team of some very dedicated developers. And some of you are here today. I know everyone else on the team is at home. I'm hoping I don't say anything horrible. And so to all of you on our team, thank you. This has been the adventure of a lifetime. I love working with you guys. We have a lot of fun together, and the last couple days of spending some time together have been really wonderful. It's difficult for us to do because we're spread all over the globe, but we really do have a neat community within our team. Now, to all of you, and I'm sorry if this sounds a little hokey, but you know what? We really enjoy what we do, and we do what we do because of the support and the enthusiasm that you have for our products. I look out at this room, and frankly, I am just mystified at how many of you were interested in coming here to see us present something, and that means a tremendous amount. We really do value your input. We value your feedback. I feel very strongly, and I have felt for many years, that there's a compact between us and you that we should do our best to support your dreams and aspirations for the hobby and what it should be. I hope we are continuing to do that. We certainly are trying to continue doing that, but I promise you that trust means more to us than just about anything, because at the end of the day, the trust between you and the trust between us is really what makes this hobby a great thing. 20 years ago, you could not have filled this room if you wanted to. Now, we certainly can, and that goes from the enthusiasm of all of you and the efforts of people like Evan and Phil. So please do take a moment to thank each other, pat yourselves on the back, and on behalf of all of us at PMDG, thank you very much for your support of our products. It means the world to us, and thank you for coming.
Let's turn off the AC.
Just ran out of
There we go.
space.
Normally we do a Q&A at this point of the show. I joked around about doing a Q&A, so Rob started to ask me a question, so I'm actually going to let him